Hi.
Hey, Bill. Wow, where are you this morning? I mean, I recognize that background, but why don't you tell everybody else where you are?
Well, this is we're out on the porch. We're having a seminar this weekend. We call it Cogno Consciousness. It's all about removing the blocks to uh, you moving up kind of the levels of understanding, changing your life so that you have better synchronicities and coincidences take place that really kind of accelerate your personal power, your growth, health, wealth, all those things. So this is where we're going to have it. It'll be actually in the living room here at my house, and we have our obviously all of our lunches and stuff like that out here. But I'm very excited about the new seminar because what we're doing is we are going through and eliminating all of the challenges that are sitting out there for people that they don't realize that are holding them back. And we do it all in one weekend. It's very intense, but probably the most rewarding weekend of your entire life. I don't know if you have that diagram. I can actually show it to you what we're doing. Maybe we'll put it up on the screen. It's basically Dr. David Hawkins has what he calls the levels of consciousness, and these levels of consciousness go from a very low end, where you see in yellow there, and everything happens through force in your life when you're operating out of shame, guilt, grief, fear, cravings, anger, those sorts of things. This is where life is kind of operating in reaction and also um, very difficult. Now, what we're doing in this weekend is we are clearing out all of this for your lifetime. So all of your shame and humiliation, all of your guilt and blame, all of your despair. We have this physical method, Cogno movement, which I assume everybody already knows about. But basically, it's a physical modality that you process the events of life, and your body can do this for you with the aid of this protocol and this ball that we utilize. So it takes about, several minutes per issue. And the beautiful thing is that you're no longer fighting it. It's not like you're saying, "Oh, I'm just not going to be angry anymore. I'm stronger than that. I'm better than that." It's you just don't feel it anymore, or your fear. It's not like you're saying, "Oh, I'm brave. I'm not going to be afraid." You just don't feel it. And when you just don't feel it, it allows you to kind of move up in a new understanding. And life will present itself in a completely new way to you. Imagine you weren't afraid anymore, and what would happen in your life if you just didn't feel it anymore. It's not like you were trying to be brave. It just was absent. Or the big problem in your life, like your let's say the person in your life who really bugs, and you just wanted to be free of that, and you spend a lot of time kind of pushing against it and resisting it. Imagine you just they do what they do, but you don't feel anything. It just doesn't bother you anymore. So these things actually are completely natural, and we've discovered your body's natural ability to make that happen. So I wanted to show, maybe you could flash that up on the screen again, maybe the pyramid, so I can kind of show what happens when you do this work. And what happens here is you can see in the bottom levels over on the left, with guilt and apathy and grief and that sort of thing, you have you this is out of the zone, right? And life, as we say, happens through force. As we move up a little bit higher, over on the right hand side, you can see you're happy and productive when you're in the zone of trust and optimism and forgiveness. You become happy and productive. And as you kind of go up the scale, I'm going to skip here to the top of the scale. At this top of the scale, when you have relieved all of the obstacles for yourself, which is what we do, you start to naturally feel joy, gratitude, love, and synchronicities and extraordinary outcomes are just commonplace. They happen all the time. We have people get jobs and all kinds of uh, getting married, you name it. But things change and they change rapidly.
Okay, so Bill, let me stop you there for just a second, because there's so much about this that's incredible. So I just want to point out something that, people have asked. So in this weekend, obviously, we're going to tick these off: shame, guilt, apathy, grief. But not everybody knows they have shame or guilt or apathy, right? Like, they don't have to know specifically where these things in their life are to remove the effects of them, correct?
Yes. So we come at this from multiple angles, right? You remember the first times of this in your life and that you experienced it. And you may not think about it anymore, but it's sitting out there kind of as a resistor in your life that you're not really aware of. You always wonder, you see people at work doing funny things, not funny at all to you, or misinterpreting the what you're saying, and you're like, God, what the heck? I didn't mean that. You may find it maybe even closer to you than your work. But they have things that are sitting out there causing them to react to life in a way that is not really the truth for you. It's their truth, but it's not your truth, and it's not the real bigger truth of the situation. Well, we all do that. We all do that. Nobody likes to admit it, but we all do, myself included. And when these things get processed and go away, literally, you don't feel or think the same anymore. And with that, your life changes. It becomes about making choices, and you're going to have less reactions. So I tell you, I have to tell you a funny story. Recently, I had, speaking of reactions, right? This one is went to a place that I just had no idea or no thought of that I would ever encounter this. But there was a gentleman, one of my clients, recently, who was married and was falling in love with another woman. And he said, "Listen, this is completely disturbing. I don't, I can't help how I feel for this woman, but at the same time, he was like, I don't want to lose my marriage, and I got kids, and he had." He, he had a full life with a wife and kids and a complete infrastructure of friends for them, and you name it. So I said, okay, well, he said, I can't help it. He said his heart was all on fire, and he can't help when he feels when he gets around her and that sort of thing. So I was like, gosh, I have no idea if I can help or not, but let's just utilize the standard method that we do to process, with Cogno movement. I don't know, Liz, if you've got a ball there, one of the soccer ball styles, but maybe you could show that to people. So this 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 exercise that I'm talking about, Cogno movement, is is we do it with a ball, and it's a bilateral, so you left and right across the body as you're focused on a feeling, and you identify the color. What it does is it activates two lobes of the brain, and it forces data across the two lobes of the brain. I've got a lot of information about that, about the science of it and the position of your eyes and what parts of your brain get activated. But the most incredible thing happened. This guy was at a 10. Like, he was like, I can't stop thinking about her, and I can't when I'm around her. It's like crazy for him. Anyway, we did the exercise, and he said basically it went from to, it went down from a 10 to an 8 to a 4 to a 2 to a 1 and a 0. And he said it felt like something in his body released, and that the feeling basically um, went away, and he felt like at the end, he said, this is completely manageable. I can be around her, no problem. I'll be fine. And he just felt this, for lack of a better term, a feeling rush up through his body, and this on fire feeling that he had completely gone.
So Bill,
So
let me
anyway, go
jump
ahead.
in here for just a sec, because I want to put this in the context of the event that we're having this weekend. So, as to my question before, sometimes we really don't know where any of this is coming from, and we aren't consciously aware that we have any of these programs running in our body, right? So in this one, we're talking about that he had some desperation going on in
Yes.
his system. So,
Yes.
and some guilt, right? So down here around 30, that he might have even, had some despair or some regret going on, and definitely some anxiety, and definitely craving. Because obviously what you're talking about, this guy didn't have control over this sensation in his body. And
Absolutely.
so,
It was completely out of control. The entire situation for him was in a place that he had no control, and he was in this intense. Sorry about that.
so
Street sweeper went by.
it sounds like what he may have jumped up into is some understanding. At least it was feasible. At least we're in this level of courage where he's like, okay, I can handle this. I can look at it reasonably, right? So with that one, how long do you think you worked with him?
Oh gosh, it was maybe 6 or 7 minutes at the tops. It was probably more like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's something stuck, right? How can at the level of 125, the craving issue, right? There's something stuck there that you can't help how you feel. You just feel the way you feel, and there is no ability to stop that.
Yeah.
And it goes with many things. Obviously, this is an extraordinarily extreme circumstance, and I really had no idea of what was going to happen. So it was an experiment. But uh, the aspect of unblocking it happened, which is what we see with all kinds of emotional things, whether it's fear or grief or guilt. Somehow, some way, with this exercise that you do when you focus on it, it forces this release, and with that, you become more balanced.
Yeah, and it sounds like you collapsed the anxiety around it. That sensation of, oh, I got to be with this person. And we were talking about it earlier off camera, that this maps over to a lot of things. Like, what if you're an over shopper? What if you have this craving or drive that doesn't help you to overshop or overeat or any other thing that you don't feel like you have control over? Cogno movement has the ability to collapse that craving, anxiety, the regret, the despair, the blame, and
Correct.
the humiliation that comes with all of that, kind of in one fell swoop.
Correct. So basically, uh, what we have, right, is a very quick method to making that happen, and we are doing a what I would call a super course over the course of 2 days, where it's all about you and making that happen for you. So if you're coming this weekend, I would ask you to do three things. Bring a list of all of your emotional pains and put them on a scale of 1 to 10, all of your physical pains and put them on a scale of 1 to 10, and also everything that you would like to make happen in your life, and scale it 1 to 10. And we'll see where we get by the end of the weekend. Go ahead.
Well, and even beyond that, Bill, because with a lot of the people that we've been working with, what we're finding out is when they're done with this, the things that they want to happen in their life are just happening. Just they're just appearing. In fact, one person reported recently that, and kind of cautiously, the things I start thinking about, the something when I put my mind to something, all of a sudden it's showing up like a miracle. And so that's where we see that in this Hawkins scale, right up in here is, things just start happening. There's coincidence. Maybe it's this one, synchronicity and
Yeah, the other,
right
that
there.
chart illustrates it.
Extraordinary. Yep, right there.
And he talks, and Dr. David Hawkins, God rest his soul, he's gone now, over the age of 90, I believe, when he went a few years back. But he talks a lot about this in that when you start to reach those higher levels, that what's held in mind starts to happen. And the thing that keeps us from those levels is kind of all these mundane events of life, right? I can't help how I feel about gambling or shopping, or I can't help how I'm afraid. There's something to be afraid of, or I can't help that I'm angry at this person. They're a complete and utter blah blah blah. So what we're kind of bringing to the table is to uh, make it such and utilize your body's natural ability to be done with it, where you're not fighting it anymore. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's this weekend. Obviously, short notice. This is Monday. It starts on Saturday, goes through Sunday, and it's here in San Diego at this location where you can see right here, right now, and would love to have you. We have snacks at breakfast, lunches included. Saturday night we have a barbecue so we're together a lot, and we really make some significant progress.
And this, I have to say, guys, this is a very unusual event. You're actually invited to Bill's private residence. It's a very intimate setting with a limited number of people, obviously, and with this wonderful family atmosphere. And it kind of needs to be that way for Cogno Conscious because it's big. You're hitting, from shame all the way to enlightenment, all the way through in 2 full days. Guys, it's not easy, but it's fantastic. And the results are, sometimes nothing short of miraculous. So I really want to encourage everybody who's interested. The places you can sign up are cognomovement.com/upcoming events. Just go to cognomovement.com and click on upcoming events, and you can get your ticket there. But again, it's very limited, so you got to get in there if you want your spot.
Want to make sure that people know about the rest of everything going on. November 15th, 16th, 17th, Somerset, Massachusetts. Huge event. This is certification, and you get what they call Secrets of the Masters. A lot of tips and tricks there. We're having another Cogno Movement Level 1 certification, Glendora, California, which is Los Angeles, November 2nd and 3rd. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, we have another, this is Cogno Conscious in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that's coming up at you on December 7th, 8th. So if you can't make this event this weekend, there are 3 other events here through the end of the year. Lastly, if you are in a location and you say, gosh, Bill, what I really want is for you to come here, do a seminar. I do have availabilities on the weekdays now through the end of the year. Let's call me up, or you've got my email address. Let me know. I'll come out and do an event, and we'll knock this out right on site. You just need enough people so that we can make this happen. Okay. Hope to see you here this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. See you guys all really soon. Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you.